everyone who's out there, I want to welcome. I want to give a shout out because I don't know if any of you who are here in my Inner Circle programs, I do a Inner Circle monthly video, and also I do Inner Circle courses. And what's been super cool, like one of the most incredible things in my life, is seeing groups forming in person in different areas. So in my Inner Circle group, people who are in Ohio are getting together, people who are in Florida are getting together. And I think our Florida group is actually joining us live today. So if you are, I'm giving you a shout out. Thank you for being here. I'm actually starting a new course. I'll just throw that out since I'm on that topic. If you are interested, one of the big themes that's been coming in that I'm going to talk about today is freedom. So I'm launching a live 5-week course starting May 27th, and it's called Embodying Freedom. And there's a beautiful introductory video that I filmed, but also we're going to get together and talk about all these different elements of freedom, which is a pretty big topic, but so important right now. So that's what I want to talk about today. So before I start, this is interactive. So especially if you're new, I want you to know that we can talk about whatever's on your mind. I'm going to just do a little update for everyone for the first 40 minutes or so, and then I'm going to do a live channeling. So if you've seen me on YouTube, this is bringing in guides, teachers, masters right into the room, collectives, and we get a general message, and then we do question and answer. So we'll pass a mic around. Questions are up in the air. Just try not to make them so personal, okay? It's not about Aunt Betty, but if Aunt Betty's struggling with something that everyone can benefit from, that's what we want to hear, because everyone out there has an Aunt Betty who's probably struggling with the same thing, right? So those are the types of questions we want more collectively focused. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. If there's something you want to talk about, please raise your hand. I want to start with some themes that are coming in, because I think it's been 2 months since we've done a gathering like this, a live event, and there's a lot that's been going on. So not just energetically, but also physically. And I find that, I'm sure many of you can relate to this. If you're in the healing or intuitive arts, you can probably relate to this. I find that my personal path kind of flows in the direction of where the collective is heading. So if something's going on big on the planet, I feel like I get this personal story of it seeping into my life so that I can understand it. And it's not my favorite thing about this mission. I'll tell you that right now. So, because, some of it isn't easy, but I want to start with this blanket statement that I have hard times. Bad things happen to me. And the reason I want to say that is I feel like there is this theme going on in the spiritual community that if you're evolved and if you're doing your work and if you're creating your own reality, that you have this golden life, that nothing bad happens. And that is not my personal belief, although it's something we see on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook all day long, right? It's not all about the waterfalls in Bali and the trips to Hawaii and the shaman's journeys. It's about your house flooding. It's about someone passing away or getting sick. And I really think that's when the spiritual journey comes in, right? Those waterfall times in between are awesome, and we get really high vibrational and we have these awesome experiences. But when you're digging deep in the trenches of your own life, that's when we really get to ponder all the stuff that comes in under the waterfall, right? And that's what I've been doing in my own life lately, because I've had to deal with a pretty difficult life circumstance. And I'm human. I'm not dealing with it in the best way possible. Yeah, we all lose our cool. But along the way, I've had a lot of questions in my mind. So I kind of want to take us on a progression through my questions to talk about what I think the coming themes are in my work. So when this event first took place, pretty catastrophic event, my house flooded, it's a lot of loss, big deal. I first thought, this is not fair. This is not fair. I serve people all week long. I have given my life to this mission. I am a channel. How is it that this could happen to me, right? I thought I got past all that stuff. Not in an egoic sense, but haven't I earned the right now to just keep this mission going without being stopped, right? So that's my first train of thought. My second train of thought is, it's the reptilians. Right? They opened up a portal in my house. And they are trying to stall my work, like Black Ops, the whole thing. I went down that whole path thinking I need to cleanse myself. And then from there, I really just started to feel sorry for myself. Like there's, and really, when you're in the midst of something like that, you can think about all of the stuff that was in your vibrational escrow and go like, man, I suck at this spiritual stuff. I'm a meditator. I do Kundalini yoga. I project into the future. I do all of that stuff religiously. I channel all week long. My vibration should be so high, but somewhere along the line I failed, right? So here I am, and the situation's getting worse, right? Started off pretty bad, but as the week goes on, it's getting worse. And I'm thinking, I'm in the middle of the situation now, completely expanding it, which we all know is possible. We are creators, right? But what are we really creating from, right? So we go back into my work, which was like back in like the day, like 2014, 2015, when I started to channel. And the guides talked about this direct link between the mind and the emotional body. So the thoughts that we have evoke an emotion, and that emotion is our vibration. And that vibration, right, will pull in and draw and match. So yeah, here I am in a difficult situation, knowing darn well the way I'm reacting to it is making it worse. So my first thought is, I'm going to start to project positively. I'm going to have positive thoughts about this. Like this is a great opportunity for me to redo my house, right? I never thought at this point in my life I'd be putting so much money into this, but it's a good thing because the outcome's going to be awesome, right? And then the second I open my eyes, my brain is going, I'm going to kill the plumbers, right? Insurance is screwing me over. This isn't fair, right? So the question is, did that work actually work, right? So I got to the point where I had to call in my guides because I'm like, what do I do? What am I doing wrong? What is this process all about, right? And the first image that I was shown from the Germaine Collective, which is one I work with a lot, was this big, huge candlestick, this tall, thin candlestick. And they showed me the wick inside, and at the top, you have that little wick at the top, and there's a flame burning on the candle. And they said, if you look inside that flame, you would see 1,000,000 specks of light that make up that flame. And that's what you are. You're that flame. You're those 1,000,000 specks of light. The wick is your soul, right? Running through the wax of a physical linear experience, right? So as that flame is burning and the wick is going down and the wax is melting, you're just blowing through human experience, right? That's your human life. But it's the flame that makes the wick melt, right? And the flame doesn't know what to do. It just does what it's here to do. It's what it is. It's a flame. It's light. And that's what you are. You're a flame. You're light. You just need to hold that in the center of everything that's going on. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're not mad, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that you're not in fear. It doesn't necessarily mean that this doesn't suck, because it does. It simply means that you're walking through an experience holding the light. And so I thought, okay, well, that's a nice analogy, helpful, but I need more. And then Mary Magdalene came in, just right before me, standing right before me, and said, there are 2 elements of your situation that will get you through to change the reality. And those 2 elements are presence and free will. Okay, so presence and free will, which is interesting, right? Because I think I'm being present with the situation. But to be honest with you, after she told me that, I sat down and I thought about it, and I definitely was not being present with what was happening. I was going ahead to how am I going to resolve this? I was going ahead to how is the money going to come in? I was going ahead to, right, what's going to happen next? How am I going to get these people to respond to me? I even had that like female dynamic going on where I was like, all the men are out to get me. They're all screwing me over. That whole thing, right? I'm playing all this out. And I thought, that was not presence. I was not present one bit in that situation. I mean, I was present in the fact that it was going on. But where my mind was taking me was not handling the situation so much as it was, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? Okay? So that was valuable to me. And then she talked about free will. So I'm like, okay, how does my free will show up in this? I didn't choose this. The activities that are going on are out of my control, right? As much as I'm trying to control them in physical, totally out of my control. So where is my free will? And she said, there are two things that you need to understand are the recipe for free will. The first one is peace. Finding peace in any situation is the pathway to free will. And then the second thing she said was faith and trust. So peace, faith, and trust are the free will that you can find in any situation. And I don't think peace means it's okay that what's happening is happening. I think peace is kind of like our innate state of being. It's being in observation. I think peace and presence kind of go hand in hand. Right? It doesn't mean that something bad isn't happening. It means that you're present with the situation enough to allow that to unfold in the way that it's got to unfold. Right, as opposed to getting muddied in the water and trying to create something that probably is prolonging the problem, but doesn't have to be. So I've been applying these two aspects of free will in my life, and my problem isn't resolved. But I feel completely different about what's taking place, and I notice my mind is falling back into line with reality. Like, yeah, this really is going on and it does suck. And we don't know, this is unknown. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know how it's going to be resolved. But there's a lot of things in life that we don't know, right? In that candle wick that's burning, we don't know how that flame is going to create the drips in the candle. We don't know how fast or slow that wax is going to burn. Right? And that's what we're trying to have peace with, is the unknown. And so I'm getting a really big lesson right now in being uncomfortable or being comfortable in the unknown and what that entails. And ultimately, I bring this up because if you followed my work and some of the shows I've been on and things I've been talking about, I do think from a collective vantage point, we're walking into a lot of unknown, right? We're walking into this time of, I don't want to say chaos, right? But the way the guides put this is, the more light we hold, the more we see the debris in the corners that we've never seen before. Like when you turn that bright lamp on in your living room and you thought you dusted really well, you're going to see the spots that you missed. And that's what I think is going on collectively right now. And there's a few facets of this that I'd love to talk about. And please raise your hand if you have any questions or want to go down a path. So first, all of the work that we've done has to lead us somewhere, right? When we have become these new spiritual beings looking at a planet that doesn't match who we are, then turbulence, chaos is going to ensue until that comes together in the pattern that matches who we've become. And that's exactly what the guides have been talking about going into the next couple of years. It's seeing the dust in the corners and the dust in the corner really becoming obvious. And what happens when we're fighting up against something that's in resistance? It's going to resist that much harder. It's going to show up that much more in our lives. You know, those of you that are in my inner circle programs, I talked about it last month in relationship to what's happening with vaccines and the restrictions in the vaccine regulations right now. States like New York and California that are adopting these mandatory requirements, and it's pretty severe. And there's a lot of people in that movement who've been fighting the good fight for a pretty long time who I think are feeling pretty defeated. But I actually look at that as a success. I feel like if the government has to fight back that hard, they obviously know they're losing some ground. So we've made some progress there, right? Otherwise, that resistance wouldn't be coming up. That holding on so tight wouldn't be necessary. It's obviously necessary, and to me, that's a good sign. Because what it means is things are going to start coming to the planet to replace the things that aren't working, right? Because we're resilient, we are creative, we are ascended, we're higher vibrational. Doesn't mean we're not gonna face bad times, but in those times we're being that light, that wick of the flame, the candle, right? Coming in to create something new. So now we have restrictive states that are mandatory vaccination, schools, right? What are humans going to do? Are they going to roll over and give their kids to the government? Or are they going to create different pathways to teach their kids, right? Homeschools, new alternative schools, right? I just don't see this tug of war ending by us giving up. I think that we've got this far in order to wield that sword and that shield that we have developed over the last, 9, 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, that's what's within us. That's the light that's within us. And so as we walk these times, I think it's important to remember, and this is why this course has been downloaded through me that starts May 27th, just how free we are in any situation. Because even in mandatory vaccination, there's freedom. That freedom might be different for you than it is for you, based on the age of your kids, the experience, the amount of money you have, like the creativity you have going on, right? But everybody has the opportunity to find their free will in any situation. They can create their own pathway amidst something that's restrictive. And we've already done this in so many areas of our personal lives. And I think our personal lives have prepared us for what's taking place now on the planet, right? How many of us have fought up against a job that didn't fit us anymore, or a societal expectation that we had, or some, right, emotional trauma or wound that we were sitting on for so long that we uncovered and brought to the light and healed? All of these things were practice, right? To see how strong we are, to see how vibrant we are, to see how creative we are. And so I don't look at this time as being difficult so much based on how you perceive it. I feel like it's a really huge opportunity for us in the chaos in the midst of the storm to find creative pathways, outlets, to let that wax drip how it may, but to know that we're the flame that's causing it to happen, right? And really put into action in our own lives those sovereign steps. Now, there's another facet of this that I think is really interesting, and it's a little more energetically technical that the guides have shown me. So I want to bring it in here because it's something that is, I think, going to be the impetus for how we reconnect this whole human collective as one. Well, if you followed my work again, you know that the guides talk a lot about the third dimension and how the earth was encapsulated, right? So it was held separate of universal support, not because we were meant to suffer and have this, vicious loop of karma, but simply because we were creating timelines that were going to have effects elsewhere in the galactic universe. And we forget this, that we're a universal family, we're a cosmic family. There are implications for what we do here that affect timelines elsewhere, right? So that encapsulation was put in place. It gave us the opportunity to rerun patterns and karma that we needed to shift. And it helped us to now move outside of the realm of that encapsulation, which is what has been happening. Right, so we have a new fifth dimensional grid, or I'll call it a multi-dimensional grid. It's a bridge. It's a pathway back to the universal grid system. It's kind of like, we were always connected to the universal grid, the earth, and then we became encapsulated. We created our own grid, which was material and physical and, third dimensional. And now we kind of have this bridge forming, okay? So we're starting to create new timelines. The people amidst vaccine restrictions are opening new schools. That's multidimensional stuff, and that's stabilizing that new grid. And so energetically, as a Earth collective, we are now operating in a new time-space reality. We now have universal support. Our technology is advancing so quickly. I'll give you an example of how this came in for me. This is not egoic at all. It was amazing to me. Many of you know I trans-channel, and my awareness is usually floating somewhere in the room, but I'm always observing, kind of listening in and often judging, like, they must not understand that. But I had a session this past week in the middle of all the water in my house, like the chaos, right? I did a session. And I just told the guides, my intention is to get so far the heck out of this reading that I don't even know what's going on. And my mind was literally in the other room going, those damn plumbers, the damn insurance company. And the words that were streaming out of my mouth were the most beautiful words you have ever heard. It was one of the best sessions I've ever done in my entire life. And I'm scratching my head going, that was crazy. But then I'm thinking, no, that's the light body stuff they've been talking about, right? Like how our technology has been upgrading and we're becoming so much higher vibrational telepathic and receiving all of this information from the earth and the Akashic field. It's like coming in at the speed of light. And the way they explained it to me is, in the past, as a channel, like those of you who channel and mediums and connect, your plasma was your time travel machine. It was taking you outside of physical and grabbing information from different dimensions, and then you were interpreting it, right? And some of us are really quick at that. Like I just happen to be really fast at that. Some of us do it a little slower. Some of us do it in sight, right? It's all different. But that's not even necessary anymore, because the light body is in such close proximity to our physical form that when we direct it through an intention like that, we just go, like it just comes in. So that was one of the highlights of my week to actually observe that, to feel that it was such a shift in my work and total confirmation of what's happening that I think is so amazing for us right now. So this encapsulation that I've talked about upon the planet, we've encapsulated ourselves also in our own human experiences. We have built up walls and shields and energetic bubbles, whether it's been to protect ourselves from things in the outer world or simply because of our thoughts and the way we've thought about humanity, right? The way that we've been operating, we've created our own grid system in the third dimension, and it was encapsulated too. Well, I did this amazing channeling for my Inner Circle program this month, and the guides showed me and talked about how that encapsulation is dissolving. So you can think of it like what Barb sees as an aura around the earth and having an outer ring or rim, and that rim it can't hold anymore because the frequency is so high that it just disintegrates. And so I believe that a lot of our own encapsulation in these grid systems we've made that are third dimensional is starting to also disintegrate. And it's opening us up. It's making us raw. It's really showing us quickly things that are not our favorite things to have to deal with in our relationships, in our physical life. It's all like upgrading right now. And so I have to consider that the stuff that's gone on in my house, whether it's been this flood or I had a laptop collapse on me. It's interesting that even the technology, even the material things around me are wanting to upgrade. Not in the easiest way that I would have wished and not by choice, but they're certainly going into this new dimension with me in a new form. They're morphing in the same way that we've been morphing. We've been doing so much of that morphing. And I'll bring in some other good news. A lot of the channelings I've brought through have talked about how the pole shift and the electromagnetic grid shift was going to start to anchor and come to a close in the summer months. And so we're kind of on the downswing of these shifts on the planet. And these are the things that have brought so much turbulence and chaos into our physical bodies and especially our emotional state. It's been hormonal, it's been emotional, it's been adrenal, it's been exhaustive, it's been old disease and stuff coming to the surface. And that's starting to level off now. So we're really adjusting to a higher frequency, and we're going to come to a leveling off of all of this physical turbulence that we've had going on in the body. And I'm feeling that. So I don't know how many of you out there are feeling it as well, but I'm very sensitive to the energies. I don't blame them on everything I feel, but I definitely notice trends because I am in conversation with so many people who are sensitives all week long. and when they're constantly coming to me with the same things that validate what my experience is, then we have to take a look at that and say, yeah, we've been through some tough energies lately, and we have. But I'm starting to feel myself come out of that part of this transition, which is awesome when you think about it, because we went through all that physical stuff to prepare. We got rid of, I feel like detoxification right now in my body. I think we're getting rid of all of that material that we've created in the third dimension that shield around us that is breaking apart can no longer match. You know, all of that stuff is starting to come to a head, which puts us in a pretty good position if you think about it. So now, if we're tackling stuff on the collective through our own human experience, this is the best route we have to changing the planet, right? And we've got the people out there fighting the good fight against vaccines collectively, and they're meant to do that, and that's great. But if it comes up in your own life and you hold that peace and faith and trust, that resilience that you have, that new structure that you're embodied in, is going to find a new way. And that new way is going to make just as much impact on what's going on collectively as the people that are fighting the good fight. I mean, as a matter of fact, I think it's that much more potent when we initiate that free, sovereign experience in our own lives from something so restrictive. We're breaking all of those barriers down, right? And that's what this new grid is being continually stabilized from. So I'll end it by saying that I mentioned this new grid being a pathway back to universal grid, which is essentially the design of God, right? This is the heaven on earth that everyone's been talking about, right? That we're on a progression to, and how exciting is that? But simply the more we address what's coming up in our lives in this way, the more we strengthen that bridge, and the quicker we bring in that pattern of God and that heaven on earth. And I truly believe, because we have been the light workers, the way showers in our own lives, it's going to show up in our own lives first. But don't get caught or stuck in the belief that it's going to look like the waterfall and the shaman's journey, you know, all of the time. I think that the chaos, the transition is necessary. It's what allows us to upgrade. It's what allows us to make a dimensional shift. So it's always going to be a part of our lives. And we're just preparing to deal with it differently, you know. Any questions? Things going on? Okay. All right. So we're going to do a live channeling. And I am going to bring in who's ever best suited for this group and whoever's out there joining. Because we have so many, and there'll be many. If you do have a question, if you're out there, you can type it into the chat on Facebook. If you're in here, just raise your hand and we'll pass a mic, because we want to get the question recorded so everybody out there can hear it. And we do pass a basket. We are with the Flower of Life Center for Human Evolution. We are a volunteer organization here in Detroit. We are running multiple projects, and we offer these events for free. If you can donate, great. If you can't, it's fine. Your donations actually go to help us pay for the venue today, as well as bleeds into our other programs. I didn't mention we have a children's program, Weekend in Wizardry and Conscious Youth. It's amazing. So if you are here, you're new, you're out there, you're new, you have a kid between the age of 9 and 18 who's discussing these topics or having experiences, we have a group that meets remotely online every 2 weeks. And they share, and we bring in mentors to talk about things like channeling and telekinesis and light language and all of this stuff. And then we have Weekend in Wizardry, which is our mini expo. That takes place June 28th through the 30th here in Milford, and it's amazing. The kids get to do all the things hands-on. We teach the same things: channeling, animal communication, telekinesis, light language. Barb does auras and crystals. The kids love it. It's a beautiful, beautiful experience. And then we finally have our Awaken Empowered Expo that we do every year. This is our 7th annual, I think. 7th annual, and it will be held August the 7th through the 9th in downtown Detroit. We have so many amazing speakers coming in. You just don't want to miss it. Mandara Cromwell, who is an expert in cymatics and the science of sound. Trisha McCannon, who's amazing. If you guys have ever experienced her, she's a clairvoyant. But she's like I don't know, she's an expert in so many areas. Mystery schools, Jesus, Mary Magdalene. She's going to give an amazing presentation about the galactic Earth. John Vivanco, who's a remote viewer. If you guys have ever taken a remote viewing journey, it will blow your mind. And he's awesome. We have Barbara Lamb. We have Barbara Lamb coming back. And she's going to talk about all of her ET stuff. Barb will be there doing an aura workshop. I'll be there. So many. So we hope you'll join us for that weekend. All right. With that, let's go ahead and see who's going to come in today. I honestly have no idea. Sometimes I get a little feeling earlier in the day for who's going to come in and what we're going to talk about, but I have no clue. And I twitch a little bit when I channel if you're new to me. Just the difference between the energies that we're bringing in and the space that we're all in together. And we're going to bring in the Magdalena Collective. And they say, in love and light and great support for humanity, it is our distinct honor to be with you in this space, as many of you are experiencing the heightening of a vibration that we wish to equate to the divine love, the divine light, the divine feminine energy within Gaia Sophia. This is a part of the transition that humanity is making to cross between the old dimension into multidimensional perspectives. And we start today with an analogy that as humans, you have been made up of both aspects of this energy, both masculine and feminine, regardless of the physical gender that you hold. But as you know, through time, you have been directed into a more physically focused or masculine energy. Masculine energy in and of itself is a criteria for humanity to continue to thrive, utilize its DNA, its chakra fields, its energy centers together in unison, to live the life of the soul that you are, crafting a human reality in physical form. But this masculine was always meant to be accompanied by the feminine component. And the feminine component of your masculine is the compassion, the emotional sense of security and balance that is available to you in any moment, and the spirit that lies within that has often become separate of your physical identity. And we believe that much of what you've experienced here as a human collective has been the impetus of this divine feminine rising. And we wish to break down what this divine feminine rising truly is in energetic fashion. Because although it is taught as a concept, it is actually a divine aspect of your non-physical structure that has been not functional for you in many, many generations of humans, that is now becoming active and online. Now, this starts deep within the womb and core of Gaia Sophia herself, because she is the macrocosmic image of the human form. Within her lies chakras, within her lies meridians, within her lies energy centers, elements, a variety of energetic fields that are operating and sourcing together as one, a harmonic resonance that she captures within her from all life that has decided to manifest and to form upon her. And this is also who you are. You are made up of all of these things. And she was imprinted with both a masculine and feminine template working in concert, allowing her to be an aspect, a planet of the cosmic universe. Her identity is an aspect of cosmic energy, a creative life source through which is supplying you information. Gaia has in fact always operated as a portal. She is the biggest portal that is accessible to humanity in this time. But the portal has been broken simply because that masculine and feminine balance has not been intact. Well, we want to explain that the uprising of divine feminine frequency has much to do with the grid shifting that has been taking place over the last several linear years. Because the grids within Gaia are not becoming new in their alignment, design, or location. They're actually settling back into their original state. And as they do, they are accessing that dormant divine feminine within her that is culminating in a resonance or field that is vibrating through you. Now, this divine feminine has been very foreign to your non-physical structure. And this is why many of you have launched upon a spiritual journey of inner inquiry to understand the truth of what you are. That influx of divine feminine energy made it possible for you to now access aspects of yourself through time that you had never considered to be resistant, blocked, or even activated beyond your current identity. But this divine feminine energy that is now surging through you becomes the impetus for what you are seeing planetarily and galactically, transforming the grid system to allow space for Gaia to fully connect back in. We want to bring the definition of this divine feminine frequency to you in very few words. It is the blending of your physical experience with a deep knowing or understanding that your true essence goes beyond it. That your true essence is facilitating the physical experience while gaining spiritual knowledge that will continually upgrade that experience, not just for yourself, but for future generations. And as you have continued to do this, you've allowed more of that divine feminine frequency to resonate through Gaia and through the human collective. But what we notice is there are some who are not as advanced in their consciousness, that have not taken the initiative to follow those pathways of inner inquiry, that may be interpreting this feminine energy a bit differently. When fear is overwhelming the human consciousness, it is often because that fear is an imbalance in masculine and feminine. And feminine can often be felt or perceived as a weakness. It is our access to our deepest emotions, our deepest thoughts, our deepest truths, the things that we've rejected before and not been vulnerable enough to share or accept, that are lingering in our experience to be the catalyst for this change. So restricting away from something that is difficult on the planet becomes easier than walking towards it in fear. But we're here to offer the good news that this divine feminine is what carries you through the transition. Because feminine and masculine in balance is like the mother ship that moves you between dimensions, that is used as a technology by collectives and races beyond this earth. And that is what is happening within you now. It is simply your true acceptance of it as a human soul, an embodiment of it, that allows this path to unfold in grace and ease. Embodiment does not mean that the path ahead is without discomfort, without unknown, without forks in the road. But knowing that you hold that true balance within, that eternal self, that non-physical component that is also immersed in your physical experience, you are now armed and ready to allow this transition to unfold. And as we have come forth today, we remind you that we are in great service to all of humanity during this time, and when called upon are prepared and ready to offer guidance and support and activations of light that will enable transitions to take place in ways that are more meaningful and understood. And we know that as we come forth today, The only reason that it is possible that we are here is that you have already become this truest essence of your highest self. And we're very pleased and honored to take questions.
I would like to ask the guides what they might see as the greater potentials for the new lab-created time crystals to assist humans, and are there any negative aspects of this discovery we need to be aware of?
Yes, we're the Pleiadian Collective, and we're very pleased to answer this question. We believe first that this is an example of many new technologies that you will see advancing your planet forward. They are being matched within the Akashic field by your DNA. So when you become the human collective that is ready to uncover technologies and crystalline vibrational pathways that have been known, used, and explored in ancient timelines, you will begin to see them uncovered. And this is one example of that discovery or uncovering. Now, crystalline technology or time crystals, we want to speak to with a few words. What you are beginning to see a shift of on your planet is the relationship between linear time and what your light body now operates at, drawing new information. Linear time was defined by humanity and anchored here as a belief. And as you know, as humans, you are constantly drawing information about your human experience based on that time. Not only your linear age in human years, but also the amount of time that you are putting into any activity or the amount of perceived time that will allow you to accomplish something. These time crystals are a connective source between the planet and the field, the unified field. The unified field is where all that is lies. It is a holding space of information, creative life source energy, not only from this human planet, but from other dimensions and races. And we will explain it this way. If there was a beautiful golden bowl of cosmic universe that you could tap into, and as you looked in, you would notice there were, down the sides of the bowl, information spewing in from a variety of different dimensions. That bowl would capture the imprint of all of those creations, all of that information, and store it as a resource to be tapped into by either a singular being such as yourself, a collective human race, or another dimensional reality. The Akashic field, the field of all that is storing the information necessary to meet you exactly where you vibrate. Well, these time crystals vibrate beyond linear time. They're a storage bank of sorts, but also a technology that enables you to access this space of all that is and tap into dimensional information or store it in ways that can be applied physically on your planet. Think of time crystals as actually becoming the replacement for your computer hard drive or your human hard drive or DNA. These come from so many different advanced civilizations and timeline experiences on your Earth, but are being modified in their current form to suit you. So if you are to see a technology come back to the planet, that technology is like scooping up every other technology in that bowl and bringing those experiences together to resonate with the human potential. And this is what goes on in your singular experience all of the time. What you've been involved with before, and let us say it was a healing activity on the planet, will, in that golden bowl of your own Akashic field, become intermixed with all other of its cooperative components through time and matched by you when you are ready to become that healer, such that the healer you are now walking in the shoes of is a blending of who you've been through time before, coming back to assist and upgrade the healer that you are now. And we anticipate that many more of these instances, technologies, approaches, wisdom, history, will be brought to light.
This linear timeline, which I'm very familiar with, could you describe or give more information about what are the other timelines and how they work?
Yes, we can. We are the Pleiadians, and we're very pleased to bring that an answer forth to your intention. Time is an illusion, and we know that you understand this. Linear time operates on your planet simply because you are physically focused, and you needed something to store or track your experiences. It is important, and we don't want to diminish linear time. Your soul that is embodied in this physical form knows a different universal time that doesn't operate in measurement. That time operates in cycles. There are cycles of time experienced by fragments of your soul that are ongoing right now. Meaning that whether your soul was present on the earth in the past, whether it was present on the earth in the future, and even present right now, matters not. There are cycles of time that fragments of your soul are involved in consecutively in different dimensions. Now, dimensional experience only is defined by access to information. So in the third dimension on this planet, your access to information was very limited, and your soul that fragmented into this physical body had a more physically focused experience that is having now in this cycle of time, which is your birth to death incarnation. Other fragments of your soul may be vibrating in different dimensions. And that dimension may have more access to information. And let us say you're an elemental, a fairy, a gnome, a non-physical being. It makes no difference that you are having that experience. It may be very related to the one you're having in physical, other than the fact that the cycle of time is not the one that you're observing. So you are only observing one cycle of time in this incarnation. And there are cycles of time going on, fragmented beyond this linear perspective in other realities. Now, we want to bring in the concept also of the spiral, because universal time operates within a spiral. What that means is cycles of time are revisited on a timeline continuum so that they are available as opportunities to continue to upgrade the experience you are in. So all of you who are experiencing this transmission are on your own singular spiral of time in a cycle of life that is physical, that is a birth and death incarnation. But if you're all here together in this space, there must be a collective spiral of time that you've all found your way onto together. And yes, that also is a part of universal time. Each collective operates in its own spiral, meaning that experiences are had again in the spiral continuum with a new consciousness, a new opportunity to upgrade and receive more information. This is the cycle of ascension, we would call it. Ascension requires that you are always revisiting experiences on that timeline continuum with a new perspective, because you are a new vibrational being. But this is also where humanity has gotten stuck along the way, because in a very dense or masculine focused energy, your spiral continuums have been stalled or stuck on the same rung. You have been experiencing karma over and over again in different form, but not ascending it because your consciousness was not able to perceive it through a different vibration. In other words, you were not able to access or bring in higher dimensional information to assist you to make a different decision. When your soul leaves this planet, when this incarnation has passed, you will be reunited with that all that is, the God, the space of everything, that cosmic golden bowl in which all experience lies. And in that moment, you will have a collective perspective of all of your soul fragments that are vibrating in this moment. This eternal aspect of yourself is often overwhelmed when it realizes how much support it had on its physical linear journey. So time on this human planet is also evolving. It is not just about the way that you perceive time in linear, but because your light bodies are now in such close proximity to your physical form, time is moving differently here. And many of you may be perceiving that in your own day-to-day experience. It may seem to be operating at a very fast pace or fast speed, but actually what's happening is you're reorganizing information from the third dimension into a new experience. And as you do that, time will adjust itself back into the new perception that develops of that time. So we want to give one final message before we take another question. In regards to linear time, with what is happening right now on the planet, our best advice to you, if you are feeling rushed or as if it is running out of your fingertips, is to use your perception and your conscious intention to push back on that time. To really see where in your life you can slow down time and create it to your liking. And this takes a conscious dedication to understand that time is not taking you, that you are creating that time.
This isn't necessarily a question per se, but could you speak on self-forgiveness?
Yes. We actually have Kwan Yin stepping in. I welcome her. Many humans would believe that in order to forgive themselves, there is a process they must go through to understand why it was they did something that is causing them grief, shame, or guilt. When in reality, forgiveness is not about understanding. Forgiveness is about love. Because your truest essence is that love. And the concept of self-love must intermesh with self-forgiveness. Because when you are not able to forgive yourself, or when you are holding yourself separate of that truest essence of love, you are not allowing that forgiveness to be your natural state. And all humans are in a natural state of forgiveness when they are in a state of self-love. So what then is self-love? Self-love is understanding that the human experience is not void of mistakes, that you're always making decisions, and as you're making those decisions, you are moving energy. But as you're making those decisions, where you perceive yourself to be to blame, we want you to imagine a sacred network of vines or cords running between you and all others. And let us say that in the experience you are not able to forgive, it was amongst you and another human. If you were to look down upon the vibrational arrangement between you and that soul, the contract, the cords, the energies that are being served, would you say that what you did was wrong, that that decision you made was wrong? Or would your higher self know that it may have been necessary in the time in order to allow a transition that was always meant to be? Often when humans make mistakes, they are not able to look down from the vantage point of their higher self to understand that sometimes decisions are made such that energy can move, such that transition is enabled, such that contracts are reviewed and revisited. But we know that there are also human actions that are unforgivable, that there is so much darkness and tragedy going on your planet today. If this is something that has occurred in your life that is difficult to forgive, what we want you to imagine is that there is a lineage here, there is a record. And on that spiral continuum that it was just explained through this transmission, there is movement of energy, that everything is being re-experienced again in some form until it is transmuted by your consciousness. And if forgiveness is something that relies upon understanding, that understanding must be that there will always be mistakes. There will always be turbulence. There will always be something that is perceived by the human collective as needing upgrading or change or resolve within. And so simply, we ask you to have compassion for yourself. And when you find that compassion, that acceptance of yourself in the moment, what happened in the past becomes valuable currency for you to make new decisions in the future. Because when you are holding back your own forgiveness, you are in resistance of your own highest self. And resisting your own highest self keeps you in the past. And staying in that past will never allow you to find forgiveness, because that is where the action took place. And that is not where you vibrationally lie in the moment. So that compassion must be in the now. Not for what happened in the past, but for who you are today. For the intentions that you have, for the feelings that you have, for the observations that you've made, for the work that you've done. And if you can take an evaluation of all of those things, we believe that forgiveness will come very easily.
I was wondering if a little bit about the new type of school that we should be envisioning. I know that Flower of Life has talked a little bit about creating that, and I'm an educator, and I would like to, know what to envision. Thank you.
We actually get the Hybrid Children Collective coming in for this question, so I welcome them into the room. They're very joyful to be here. And they say that as the planet transitions, it is necessary that new educational systems are formed. And we hesitate to even call them this. It is more joyful for us to call them communities than to call them places of education, because they will adopt more of an exchange type of energetic, where there is a sharing as opposed to a teaching. The reason that this is happening on your planet, there are several things we want to bring into your awareness. The failure of your current educational system has much to do with the fact that you were focused in material, and the goal of that education system was to allow a material result. And that material result is no longer necessary, because the new grid that's been anchored here is an open source potential. And that open source potential allows humans to be so creative in how they are able to receive abundance, not just because they are working in a certain number of hours in a certain field that has a certain number of requirements to reach, but because they're diving deep into the wellspring of their most creative selves and offering something to humanity that is different and valuable. We, as the Hybrid Children Collective, wish to say that you're seeing the beginning of the sensitive children that are awakening in this time. They are paving the way and preparing for the new communities that will serve them to anchor. What we believe these are based upon is mutual trust and intention, not a mimic of your hierarchical structures where there is a government system, where there is someone who is deciding what must be learned and someone who is downloaded with the teaching that must give it to the letter of the law, but a cooperative type of experience where the children that are there are seen as unique individuals that are able to receive a plan for expressing their most creative selves in ways that serve them as well as the collective. We have to bring the word freedom into this equation, because it would be difficult for you to manifest new communities like this unless there was some degree of freedom within them, for the children to explore the things that are best suited for them and the planet. But we also wish to say that there are a collective of wayshowers or lightworkers such as yourself who are in these conventional educational systems, who are meant to transition them or bridge them into these new communities. And it will not happen overnight. But a part of it has to be connected to non-physical, because those of us who are waiting on ships to enter your space, and those that are already here who are in hybrid form, are utilizing their extrasensory gifts and abilities without teaching, without training, or without announcement. We are telepathic. We are extrasensitive. We operate in the Akashic field and in the grid systems of the universe. We see energy. We interpret patterns. We hear communication. We speak languages of light, and we offer codes. These are all things that are void within your current educational system, that are making their way into these communities now, that are becoming the basis or the template. So we finally wish to say that in the same way you've received a beautiful message from the Magdalena Collective about the balance of masculine and feminine being the basis for your transition. In the new schools, in the new communities, the balance of physical and non-physical becomes that basis as well.
Okay, so I'm hearing all about this advancement, and I think that I feel like I'm part of this, and everybody in this room, I assume, is part of this. However, when I turn on the news, I see a whole different view, and the government, our government is doing in the United States, it seems to be a throwback and going in a different direction than where I'm going. So I'm wondering, with all this polarization taking place, is there going to be a split, or is there somehow going to be, are we going to come back together, or some people are going to come over, or what's going on here?
Yes. We are the Council of Light. We're very pleased to address this question because we are also observing what's taking place energetically upon your planet and how these timelines are shifting. And it would be difficult for us to quantify this as one overall view because you as humans are all living in different dimensional realities. And right now on your planet, what we see forming are 3 separate dimensional experiences in one collective. This in itself is very rare. So we want to explain how it's meant to work first so that you understand what you're seeing in the news and how that's so different from the Earth that you are creating. You see, in the Pleiades, for example, the Pleiadian star system may hold at any one time a 9th dimensional consciousness, a 9th dimensional existence. But Pleiadians have free will. And those Pleiadians, some, may choose to resonate in a 7th dimensional form, which is a bit more physical in nature, may vibrate at a slower speed. There is nothing better or worse about that. It's just a choice. And there may be some Pleiadians in that star system that choose to resonate in a 12th dimensional reality, and completely non-physical, collective in nature, serving somewhere in the galactic universe. But what happens in the Pleiades is every dimension that is involved as a part of the Pleiadian experience is added together and found the sum of to hold consciousness. You see, in order for a Pleiadian star system to do this, they have to be vibrating above the 5th dimension. So when you get to the point here on this earth where you are vibrating above the 5th dimension, it matters not what free will choice humans make if they go in the wrong direction. The collective that's vibrating the highest is always going to bring them into the light and transmute the collective experience for all. But that is not what is happening here on this planet. There is an old grid that was present that was encapsulating your human collective in a service to self model that was physically based, materially based, and heavy and dense in masculine energy. It still exists, and those timelines are still running. Many humans still have ongoing 3rd dimensional timelines, even though they are conscious and awakened. They don't affect them in the same way that the collective is being affected by the government, but nonetheless, they still exist. But because you have been progressing towards a 5th dimensional reality, most of you now vibrating in a 4th to 5th at times, you haven't reached that threshold above the 5th, which is a more collective experience. And let us explain it this way. Humanity is meant to be collectively connected as a one. There is a sacred design between all of you that enables different decisions to be made, but a higher integrity to be upheld. It is not a service to self model. It is a service to the collective model. That has been broken. And until that becomes repaired by the 5th dimension being anchored here, what you see going on in your news and in your government is really just an old hologram that's going to present itself time and time again in the spiral continuum looking the same way it does. The reason for this is that the threshold hasn't been reached by those of light to transmute at such a quick pace the elimination of those hierarchies. However, what we notice is that the basis for those hierarchies, what has made them stable, is coming down. And the reason for this is the resonance of Earth is higher than the hierarchical structures that have been created. So there are breakdowns in the energetic system. But will there be 2 Earths, we know is the question. Will there be humans vibrating in the fifth dimension and left behind in the third? What we can say about this is we don't exactly know until that time happens, other than to say that it is not the model for this Earth. It is not the way your structure was designed. It is not the potential that we see that there would be two separate planets or separate Earths evolving. We believe the timeline split that has ensued has become the basis for restoration and rebirth on your planet. And you are just walking in a very small progression towards that. Now, when you encounter that news story and you encounter things happening upon the collective that is not serving you or so different from the Earth that you are creating, it's important to note a few things. First, when so much light is injected into a structure, the darkness is going to play out, not unlike the transmutation of how your energy work takes place. When you are doing a Reiki session, for example, there may be someone holding the space for you as a vessel to move darkness outside of the structure to allow more light. Well, this is happening on a collective level right now. So if you keep in mind that as this darkness keeps coming to light, it is simply the transmutation of it. It puts you in a different frame of mind that takes you more into that fifth dimensional grid to anchor and create things that are eventually going to stabilize it here. So to make this quite simple, as more of you are holding a fifth dimensional reality in your own lives, in your own communities, you will begin to see that the breakdown of the hierarchies you desire on your local news and in your collective will become quicker, will no longer affect you in the way it has before. You're breaking free of those restrictions. You are breaking free of the things that have been present here for so long. This is simply a time of dimensional shift that is felt very uncomfortably, we know, by many of you. And we simply believe that the further you walk this path, the more changes you will notice. We want to make one final point about the third dimension and transition. What you may notice is there are some humans that have been very ingrained in the third dimension that are transitioning from this planet. And the reason for this is that their soul is making a choice, taking an opportunity within many exit points to leave now simply because their consciousness has not matched the vibration of what's coming next. That encapsulation that has been present, that is now disintegrating, as has been brought into this previous transmission, is going to change the impetus for souls that are transitioning off planet. It will be a different type of transition, not in which a soul embodies human form again in order to change its reality. In other words, in this encapsulation, humans have been replaying karma, and as they've transitioned, they have desired to come back into that human body, to transmute it again, to have another opportunity. We don't see that being any longer necessary. That souls now in this open source potential are going to be choosing a variety of different dimensional experiences and locations, as you have before, but also assisting the Earth to continue the journey of ascension here.
I'm wondering if you could speak to the relationship between cellular memory that individuals carry and the Akashic record, and how we as individuals might best facilitate healing and bringing about cellular memory or cells that are vibrating at a higher level?
Yes, so we're Arcturians and we're pleased to step into this space and answer this question. At the cellular level, you have a technology that holds water. That water holds memory, and that memory is made up of many experiences your soul has had that has come in with into this incarnation. To some degree, the first cellular experience you had was as a fetus in the mother's womb, carrying the codes of the water from her into your cellular structure. Every time your human experience in this linear reality has had a made an imprint, we'll say, had an experience, made an imprint, it has either passed through the cellular energy and been transmuted, or it's been held in a resistance. Deep emotional wounds, traumas, abuses, for example, are often resisted in their emotional state in the present moment. And because of this, a pattern exists at the cellular level. Now, the connection to the Akashic field is an interesting one because for you as humans, it's changing. The way in which this happened before was information would be siphoned through the Akash based on your conscious direction. And this is where a lot of healers would come in and offer transmissions or mantras or processes to clear that energy from your Akashic field such that it would no longer be held at the cellular level. Although this process is a good one and it has worked before in the past, what we have to explain is if the pattern is very ingrained, and let us say you experienced emotional trauma or abuse as a soul, another lifetime that you experience on the spiral continuum in which you had that abuse can put the imprint back into the cellular water again quite quickly, bringing it back into your experience. So from this vantage point, healers would have to clear layers upon layers of Akashic information from your cellular structure, because if you are a very evolved Earth human, you can see how much data there is there to work with. But there is a shift, as we've mentioned. What's happening now is that your DNA is becoming far more crystallized, and your chakras are also becoming crystallized. The crystalline strands of your DNA are becoming merged or integrated with the carbon-based strands. This is where the cosmic information lies, or often the more ancient civilized experiences you've had on Earth as hybrids. When this connects with your physical experience, it is an activation of sorts. It is not like drawing the trauma, it is drawing the overriding of the trauma into your cellular level. Now, as the chakras are crystallizing, becoming a one field of light, they are naturally bringing the Akashic access closer to you in real time. So this is good and bad in that you may have a trauma at the cellular level, and you may be revisiting it over and over again in the mind. And as you do, you're pulling in more fragments or lives in which that trauma happened as well. And then it becomes something that is difficult to heal. But because this Akashic field is so open now, it is easily available to humans to activate beyond the traumas and wounds, as opposed to having to clear them. Simply by using the crystalline DNA and the chakra fields as an energy source, you're able to draw in through intention the lives that easily override and imprint the cellular water with new memories, with new decisions, with opportunities to change your reality that you wouldn't have seen before simply because you were existing in the same time spiral that has been talked about in this transmission. Now, encoding the cellular water and overriding patterns is a crystalline technology that is also available to all humans. In other words, if you have a trauma in your life that was suppressed, that trauma may be causing an emotion of unworthiness or a belief pattern of unworthiness within you. When you notice the belief patterns that are forming around cellular energies, you can easily transmute them with mantras as a conscious technology to upgrade or activate the cellular water. Because the more you believe in the statement, I am worthy, the more that I am worthy resonates in the cellular water and will suppress and override all of those lower vibrational experiences that you've had through time. So there are many approaches to this, of course, that are creatively coming to the planet. We believe as light workers and healers are upgrading as well, more of the ancient techniques and tools as well as future techniques and tools will be brought to light. But until then, the most basic thing to remember about cellular information is that it is always being matched. So in the moment, whatever trauma or wound you exist within is matching something from the Akashic field. Whatever excitement or joy or creative expression you exist within is also matching that from the Akashic field.
Does the difference between the vibration of crystalline and carbon-based DNA correlate to the golden ratio and perhaps also the speed of light as it passes through the upper divinity and lower humanity chakras when in a balanced state of unity consciousness?
Yes, we're the Council of Light. This ratio that you speak of is achieved when the integration of the chakras has been complete. So in other words, the golden ratio or the golden spiral is accessed when all DNA strands are operating or functioning in a one resonance. The resonance or harmonic within Gaia is naturally accessing this field as well. It is a universal field. It is a universal law that all beings are able to utilize for manifestation and also to enable their consciousness to reach the highest point. Now, as we say this, it doesn't mean that in this lifetime you will achieve that. And if you don't achieve that, it doesn't mean that you are not enlightened or able to utilize your consciousness to create your reality. Because all humans are going to fluctuate in their vibration from time to time. And the amount of DA strands that you've activated are very particular to the gifts and abilities that you've brought in, the way that you're meant to interact with humanity, the type of service that you're meant to offer, in a variety of different predisposed decisions. You can activate DNA strands all the way to the 12th, but you can't hold as humans a 12th dimensional reality. You are always going to lower that to what the collective is existing at. However, if you activate to the 12th dimension, you will have full access to all of that Akashic knowledge and information, and continue to hold that in some process or access that you utilize within your practice. This golden ratio and spiral is universal in nature simply because other beings are operating with it in the same way. The nature that was seated here within Gaia is a part of that harmonic, and it is accentuating your ability to stay vibrationally balanced. What lies within the DNA is not only in the carbon and crystalline strands, but when there is a combination and integration of those two, it is drawing more universal knowledge than what your structure would hold based on your soul's evolution through time. Think of it this way. If you were to travel throughout time, your soul had lived many lives in Andromeda, in Pleiades, and within your crystalline DNA, those experiences and information may lie there as well, accessible to you when you integrate it. But when all 12 strands are integrated, it is not just where your soul traveled or what your past experiences hold. It is the ability to move between worlds, to move between dimensions, to time travel and access information in a variety of different locations. And many human beings are able to hold this now. We have to bring the oversoul into this equation because we think it is a very important part of the question that you are asking. The oversoul container is a universal aspect of your energy field that humans have not been operating with for quite some time. We do see now that many of you are activating the oversoul container, which is simply a confirmation that you have reached this new harmonic, that you are vibrating more in your crystalline strands. It is like a portal access that you operate in that taps into universal knowledge and Akashic information in real time. So the real-time information is coming from this beautiful ectoplasmic energy that is existent within your field. All humans have that ectoplasmic energy, but when their oversoul container is operating at a high speed, that time travel becomes very immediate. It is almost as if there is a knowing, and that knowing comes in a way that the brain may believe is the mind, but is truly flowing with universal information. So again, I wish to say that the DNA in harmony allow that, that harmonic to be resonant within the structure. And it is also resonant on the planet in many other forms, especially in multi-galactic resources that have been seeded here to support humanity's ascension.
I was thinking about how amazing the sun is and how much expansion comes of it. Then I had a realization, too, how many people are fearful of the sun and exposure and what might happen if they don't wear enough sunblock or protect themselves. What about skin cancer? I'm curious about your take on this.
Yes, we're the Arcturians and we're pleased to discuss this. The skin cancer that exists on your planet is not unlike the way in which you have created educational institutions based on belief. It is not unlike the way that you have created a linear time system because of the way you believe. Skin cancer is at the core, at the root core, a manifestation of human consciousness. And often what we see is humans are led down a pathway of creating this further. We are not saying that skin cancer is not a real occurrence. It is only a real occurrence here because it has been defined this way and continues to be reinforced this way as a belief system on your planet. Essentially, the way that humans interact with the sun is embedded deep within the cellular memory that we have been discussing previously. The water that exists within you is a crystalline structure, and the sun is also a crystalline structure. When you are receiving the rays of the sun, you are allowing that crystalline structure to vibrate at a higher speed. This is why plants that receive the sun or hold more water are allowing your structure to become highly energized or accessible to higher dimensional information. This is why those that expose themselves to the sun repeatedly are not necessarily having to nourish themselves in the same way that other humans are. It's because it is an exchange that enables a balance. So let's start with defining what is the best part about receiving sunlight, and then we will talk about how to approach this impending skin cancer that many of you may be concerned about. When you are receiving sunlight, there is an exchange that is going on between you and that sun. The sun stores crystalline information, creative energy, source energy from the earth. It is like a storage bank that was defined or assigned specifically to your earth to enable you to amplify times of creativity, to give you the nutrients and energy that you needed to be a non-physical being in a physical body. So what happens when you receive direct sunlight, or especially times of great solar activation, is that an influx of new crystalline information is coming in, and it's changing your water. It's changing your vibration. It's electromagnetic in nature. It's sending signals to the body to support a oneness that is meant to be cooperative between your organs, your tissues, your brain, even your heart center, which resonates with other humans. So we do consider sunlight to be essential to unity consciousness. The way in which you're able to create information and receive information from others is a human exchange through the heart center, and the sun will amplify that. But also, there is a detoxification process that comes with receiving direct rays of the sun. That detoxification isn't necessarily toxins so much as it is discordant information. Anytime that you are accessing direct sunlight, you have the potential to release discordant patterns that may have been produced by toxins, could have been produced by the mind, emotional disturbance, a variety of different things that are going on within your physical reality. Now, where humans have been directed to protecting themselves against the sun is more or less an agenda here, we will say. And that agenda has caused so much fear that fear is manifested into a disease. This agenda is to keep you from accessing this crystalline source in order to continue to ascend, because when high vibrational exchanges between you and the sun are taking place, ascension is also taking place at a very quick time. So sunscreen in itself that has been developed to protect you from the sun is also a part of the toxic buildup, or even we'll call it DNA disturbance, that goes on when humans are applying these types of substances to their body. But you are only as protected from that sun in terms of fear or cancer as you personally believe. So if you are putting on sunscreen and you believe that that sunscreen is going to keep you safe and protected, it most certainly will, and you won't have an incidence of sunscreen sunburn, because essentially it isn't a part of your hologram. There are some who operate without sunscreen and don't think twice about being in the sunlight all day long. They have not had any incidence of cancer, not because it is not a reality, it's because it's not a reality for them. It's not something that they're focused on. Those who have had incidents of skin cancer know how real it can be. It's a manifestation of a disease, a pattern that exists on your planet that we are hoping will be obliterated as you continue to walk this life. In these circumstances, the sunlight can be just as beneficial to changing the disease as how you believe it harmed you. And that's why there are so many people on your planet that are healing cancer through high vibrational plants, because they are using a safer, more trusted and believed in modality to bring that crystalline energy into the body as opposed to being in the direct sunlight. Now, again, in the same way we've mentioned that Akashic history is coming to light, new approaches, technologies, and information on this topic in general is also beginning to surface. And you will continue to see it to surface as you are walking through the next linear year and a half. We actually believe that the entire cancer epidemic on your planet is a dark entity that is truly coming to a head, something that must be shifted in your collective consciousness and able to receive a new protocol and treatment that is not only physical, but non-physical as well. And most of the humans that are exploring these non-physical techniques are the ones that are having the most advantageous results.
What is the physical and energetic potential from receiving sound healing from gongs, crystal bowls, and intuitive singing when it's played with the intention of unconditional love?
Yes. We're actually bringing in the Dolphin Matrix, so I welcome them. They're here to help us understand this better. And they say that the sound healing tools that are used on your planet are an effective interruption where patterns are blocking humans from ascending or healing something within their physical bodies, minds, or spirit. Because sound vibration at certain hertz frequencies are like gateways or access points to allow information to change. If you could imagine yourself as an instrument in physical, one that always has to be tuned, that if you are not tuning it properly, consciously, let us say, it falls out of attunement and must be brought back to speed. If you don't use a technique such as sound healing, meditation, or some practice to do this, you will allow that incidence of discordance to continue to manifest in the body. When sound is offered at a specific hertz frequency, especially if it is directed in a conscious or channeled way, it can have a direct effect on that discordant pattern. It is like bringing the body back into its resonance or harmonic in its original state. It's God fragment, it's God-like self. Because essentially at the core of your being, you are sound, you are light, and you are a variety of minuscule patterns made up, sacred geometric energies made up into one beautiful, unique essence. And this is why sound harmonics can be used so uniquely with each unique human, because everyone needs attunements in different ways. There are different parts of the instrument that have failed, or different notes or sounds that need to be brought into balance. These harmonics are ancient tools because they have not only been introduced here on your planet, but came to your planet from intergalactic ships that use sound and hertz frequencies to travel through different galactic points in the universe. This is another way that time travel is initiated, is through sound. So essentially, if you are a sound healer, you're initiating time travel to the soul or souls that are receiving it. And during that time travel, there are gateways or portals that are open based on what is needed to bring into resolve or peace. Now, we want to bring back the original point about sound being an interruption. What we find the best use of sound harmonic on your planet right now to be is where humans are running third dimensional patterns, those materialistic mind patterns that come from karmic experiences, that come from the observation of your outer world and cause stress within the human structure. That stress is a sound as well. And we believe that your collective has become very used to that sound being the norm. So when that sound of stress is interrupted by a different sound, all of a sudden the stress must release from the energy field. And the body now has the opportunity to move information differently. Stress becomes a restrictive sound in the body, and where that sound is interrupted with a different sound that comes in, an opening a portal takes place and change is made. We believe that as you continue to utilize this healing technique on your planet, you are bringing back many of the ancient Atlantean tones and sounds also that are present in those that are sharing light languages, as well as sound healing applications through the voice and instrument. There are many ancient civilizations that have been activating new human incarnations on your planet. In other words, revitalizations of those ancient civilizations in cosmic families and communities that are bringing back some of the original sound harmonic tools in a more current and applicable form for humanity.
Can you talk on the connection between twin flames and self-love, that the connection is really about healing of this?
Yes, actually we get St. Germaine stepping in and he's very pleased. The concept of twin flames on your planet is something that has multiple definitions and may be applied to different situations. And in general, what we wish to say is we consider a twin flame energy to be more of a cosmic reunion. That twin flames, whether they be loving partnerships or collaborative communities or even friendships, have had a significant cosmic lineage together. And that significant cosmic lineage feels so easy and enlightened because it isn't embedded in karma. When soulmates are present within your experience, often those soulmates can feel very difficult or painful. This is because your human experience for many generations has been focused into karmic experience that hasn't been resolved. So your soul partnerships that have been coming to light have been truly focused on healing those karmic aspects of your experience. But the reason that twin flames is the twin flame energy is such a significant topic and experience right now on your planet is rooted in some of the communication that you've already had in this transmission. The activation of the oversoul, the light body becoming very close in proximity to the physical body, the way in which your DNA is becoming crystallized and activated. All of these things are calling twin flames to your energy field. What we see the first wave of this being is a reorganization of light workers on the planet. This is not necessarily a physical reorganization, so much as it is a reorganization of other humans coming into your life or leaving your life to offer or create a more cosmic vibration. And we believe this is already happening in many different locations on the globe. Now, we know that the twin flame energy that you may be speaking of is a romantic partner, and this also we see taking place as well. Twin flame partnerships go beyond working out karma, and that is not their intention. Twin flame partnerships are the essential I am in you, you are in me resonant vibration. There is no need for words. There is no need to explain. There typically isn't a difference in belief. There may be differences in the uniqueness of each being and the way they desire to create, but they are a cooperative component, not unlike God. They come in to offer that soul the resources that are needed to amplify their experience and vice versa. It's a symbiotic relationship, not where there's resistance or healing that must be had, but there is a cooperative energy that is supporting both. Now, soul partnerships also have this cooperative energy going on. So it is not as if you have no soul contracts in your life that have been beneficial to you. Even family partnerships, children and parents, for example, are soul contracts. And there's always a beneficial aspect of any contract that you make with any soul through time. But the twin flame energy feels a little different. It is crystalline in nature. It is an immediate recognition and resonance that goes beyond words. And it enables a higher vibrational experience to unfold. It is in a moment's notice when the twin flame arrives, moving your dimension into another reality, moving your experience into another dimension. It's a dimensional experience that you're having with a twin flame. And all of the opportunities that lie there are collective in nature, meaning that when the twin flame arrives, there is typically something that you are offering to the collective that is in need of the presence of that being. And as that being comes in, your collective potentials continue to rise.
Can we let our bodies be a portal for crystalline energy with a frequency of the 8 to 12 dimensions for healing and or raising our energy? If so, what are good examples for embodying that energy and holding that energy?
Yes. We're pleased. We are the Pleiadians, and we want to break this down technologically, but in a way that you might understand. We don't consider humans to be portals so much as we consider them to create portals. In other words, you are crystalline vessels of light, allowing information to flow through you. And what we notice with many healers and intuitives is that when they are opening a space of healing or offering, they are naturally creating a portal through their energy field. They are not the portal so much as they are the portal operator, in which they are allowing the information that needs to come through the portal to be channeled appropriately. And portals are very unique. Portals may open or close for different reasons. And we know you understand that on your Earth, there are different portal locations that are openings within Earth that channel information from her meridians and grid lines that can assist you in ascending, healing, or clearing. It is not unlike that, except if you were to see the portal, it would be like an open field outside of your aura, not necessarily connected to you, but created by you. And as that portal would expand and vibrate, your conscious intention would allow it to stay in balance and harmony, to encompass and bring in all other beings that must be affected by whatever that intention is. And let us say that intention is to heal or activate. Yourself or all others, most certainly it can. The way this portal is used with the self is it's like opening an access. It's enabling you to tap into the Akash directly and siphon that information into any area of your body that you desire. If it is to be utilized for other humans, that portal becomes a gateway and a connection to collectively offer transmissions of light and information that can be uniquely received by each human. And this is what portals are. They are areas of exchange that do not operate in any one dimension. They are not defined, lowered by any dimensional experience or reality. So beings can cross through, information can cross through that's in a different imprint or dimension and still match each other in resonance. It's a space of neutrality. When you are traveling into a portal, there is no time. And that time takes you away from the ability to, or from the lack of the ability, we should say, to move beyond the earth, to allow your light body to travel and receive. And this is what is always ongoing. So we want to clarify also, because we brought in the information about Gaia being a portal, and she most certainly is, that when you are rooted into Gaia, when your root chakra is connected to her crystalline core, that is not unlike you becoming a part of her portal. So as a human, you're not a portal singularly, but you become a portal simply by connecting through the root into Gaia. And then at that moment, you're channeling through her also information that may be suitable for your own structure or offered to others.
Can you just speak on the benefits of a daily meditation practice?
Yes, actually get Saint Germaine back in. In the same way that sound healing has been discussed in this transmission, meditation is bringing in a new sound harmonic that is interrupting the one that is currently vibrating in your field. And this is why meditation works so wonderfully if you have ongoing negative patterns that you are trying to override. Because when you sit in meditation, you have the ability to bring through the breath a new crystalline harmonic. And all of a sudden, whatever pattern you are resonating in must change, must reorganize, must even at times step out of the way for your ability to allow that breath to bring you into the zone of meditation. Now, we know that some of you believe you don't reach these states of meditation because simply the problems at hand are so great that they are putting a distortion between you and that meditative state. And we want to remind you that it is not the mind that accomplishes a meditative energy, that the mind can be thinking whatever it is throughout your meditative process. It is the other aspects of you that are falling into rhythm and alignment with that energy that are causing the shift to take place. So the mind can have its journey, the mind can have its thoughts, but if the breath is held consistent, if the relaxation in your energy field in your body is held consistent, that mind will naturally gravitate to a new thought, not because you forced it to, but because this new breath work, harmonic energy that you've disturbed is actually doing its work by activating you beyond what it no longer matches within your field. Now, we also want to describe meditation as a communication between you and the universe, that the breath was given to you for this purpose, that your breath being a crystalline source is how your more collective and non-physical nature comes to the forefront. We have spoken of this in past transmissions, how the higher self is activated by a simple breath. You see, if something is happening in your day-to-day reality, something that is very stressful or difficult, and you react to it right away, you are keeping yourself in the physical plane of existence. But if you pause and take a very deep cleansing breath, you are activating the higher self. And as the higher self comes in, it may have a different thought. It may take you a different route. It may relax around the situation enough to let the source field around you do the work, as opposed to you having to effort so much in physical. And so we value the breath, even beyond meditation, as an available tool to you to remind you that your consciousness is always present, and to activate that consciousness at times when it is not working with you. What we see sometimes is that your physical experience and your conscious selves are on different timelines. There is something you must attend to in physical, and that physical takes over without the assistance or support of your higher self or consciousness. And what breath or meditation does is it brings those two timelines together. It merges them into one reality. It allows them to act together for the highest and best experience of your human soul.
What is the difference between the morning and evening sun in the way that it affects our structures vibrationally when sun gazing?
We are the Arcturians, and first we wish to say that there's just a slight quality in the difference between the rising and setting sun that we will pinpoint for you. For the most part, we believe that if you are sun gazing and you are doing both morning and evening sun gazing, you are receiving the exact nutrients that you need, regardless of this slight difference. But remember, there's a different quality to the way the sunrise looks, to the way the sunset looks to your physical eye. And there's a difference in direction in the way that sun is moving. And that slight difference in appearance and direction is photonic light. Photonic light is coming in at a specific vibration, and as the sun continues to set, that vibration is weakening, weakening, and weakening. So what you're experiencing in the morning is a raising of photonic light from a very low point in the sky to the point where the sun becomes level in the sky. When the sun is setting, you are at the highest and most activated photonic light, and then moving into a field in which that photonic light is further weakening as it folds into the sky. So there is really no value more to one or the other than how you might experience this as a human and what needs you may have on a particular day. Let's say, for example, your desire is to get a very productive state of rest. And in that productive state of rest, rejuvenate your body and heal your body. The evening portion of that sun gazing event, because it is a waning off of photonic light, will help you to rest better at night, simply because it's not just a high vibrational activation in your field, but it brings you to a calm state of being whereby the body can allow its rest and its recalibration. The morning is a natural time of activation. It's a preparation time for you to become energetic for the day. And the rising of that photonic light is something that activates your cellular structure. It gives you more energy. It helps you to become more awake and to become very conscious and able to create in your day-to-day experience.
We are told that the influx of indigo children incarnated between 1970 and 1990. Are they continuing to be born today, and have their missions changed at all?
Yes, actually we bring in the Rainbow Collective, and I welcome them. They say that, yes, there are many who have incarnated here during those years. We call them the first wave. There will be many more, and there continues to be many more. And as your Earth is changing, the way that rainbow children come to the planet will also change. from our perspective, humans have a very linear definition of what a rainbow child must be. And this can be applied to all areas of your life because you enjoy very stagnant and singular definitions. But in fact, multidimension doesn't work this way. Multidimension, which is what rainbow children are, they hold a multidimensional access in their field, is always vibrationally changing. It's moving with the Akashic field. It's like an open access or portal that is always modifying. And so those children that are coming to the planet during these waves are coming in and modifying their rainbow access, their multidimensional access to the Earth's position, to the Earth's frequency, and to the human race or collective. So what you've seen so far is the rainbow children that are present on your planet have brought very advanced gifts and abilities, some of them that have not been able to come to fruition or be fully applied here, simply because they came into such a density that density has precluded much of their ability to do the work that they're here to do. Many of them in their later years of life are just becoming activated to do this work and have done the bulk of the assignments that they have come with in the last several linear years. But rainbow children will continue to come to the planet. There are many, some of them hybrid, some of them full-bred human in form, and they will continue to trickle onto your planet because they're needed, in a sense. That grid system that was spoken of, the one in which is a bridge back to God, the presence simply of rainbow children on your planet is an assignment that they are carrying out to allow that stabilization. Simply their presence, their loving presence here, is like a vessel that enables transmissions to anchor into Earth and allow this grid to stabilize. Many of you are doing this work as well. But remember, as these missions change, as these assignments change, new collectives will come forth with new assignments. And at a time when the Earth is more advanced, be able to offer their work in ways that previous rainbow collectives had not been able to do. So as a rainbow, we say we are made up of many intergalactics and beings of light, multiple genetic DNA, and we resonate in different forms. We are here on your planet at this time to support humanity's transition to a fifth dimensional consciousness, and it is our presence that is causing that change to take place. There are many of us stepping forward in new form each day, and as we do, we strengthen in numbers here to allow this grid system to not only stabilize, but become the catalyst for how humanity is ascending.
You spoke earlier about male and female energy and the play of that. However, it seems to me that there is a spectrum going on, a non-binary system going on where we don't identify with only one gender. We don't aren't only attracted to one sexual person, and that we have more than one person in a relationship. It's a very blurred lines and very spectrum, and I wonder how that binary male-female energy plays in that.
Yes, we're pleased. We're the Pleiadians, and it would be difficult for us to quantify this as one result, how this is happening being one result of one thing, because there's so much going on your planet right now that is a part of your ascension timeline, that it is not just one reason that this is happening. We want to say first that as you have become more advanced and crystallized, remember that Oversoul container is also operative on you. And many of you who have been activating yourselves, and regardless of how awake you have been of your human experience, are now drawing cosmic lives to your earthly experiences. And as you draw those cosmic lives to your earthly experiences, many of these lives have not been gender defined. They have been the blending or the integration of masculine and feminine in balance, because there is no need in many of our non-physical collectives to define gender. It is simply something that would slow us down or become such a physically focused activity that it wouldn't fit into the way that we've ascended. Not that that is a lower experience that you're having, but we're saying you're drawing from the Akashic field more cosmic experiences, cosmic soul fragments that don't require this type of material definition or judgment. Now, as we say this, we believe there's a whole nother side of what's taking place here in some on the planet, because every experiences have light and dark embedded within them. And there's a tug of war here going on right now between that darkness and that light. So we do believe there's also an agenda at play, that there are some humans that are adopting this lifestyle who aren't bringing it in galactically, but are being, in many respects, fed some type of agenda that is causing them to choose a path of least resistance, in a sense. And not that this experience in itself is negative, because in order for divine feminine and masculine to come into balance, both sides need to be explored in that balance in order for it to be found. So you simply have humans playing out the story microcosmically of what the macrocosmic energy is showing. They are new feminine energies that are coming in that want to explore their feminine energy, but have held a very heavy masculine. There are some that have been that feminine energy for so long that the masculine is inquisitive to them. And this is representative of that tug of war. It's representative of a time where humans are finding that balance in ways that seem very physically focused. It's in your hologram. And again, if we look into that hologram, we can see potentials for your future. Not that these potentials are concrete predictions, but how we believe what's happening now will continue to evolve. And essentially, we believe that the way that humans associate with gender roles will become less and less important on this planet as you evolve as humans. But the masculine and feminine gender roles and identities are also going through a transformation. Because essentially, the way that humans were defined in these genders is not the original form or essence of who you are. So the entire female definition is rebirthing itself as a gender role. The entire male definition of a gender role is also redefining and rebirthing itself. So there is a time of chaos and confusion here that has to work itself out while those roles are simply being defined. But as we see the future, we know that there are many opportunities or options, potentials for you to walk this path, and that is yet to be seen. How humanity will work out this masculine and feminine balance in their own minds and their own lives will play out in your vibrational potentials and strengthen the path for how these gender roles will continue to evolve.
Could you conclude the session, please?
Yes. Actually, this is Mary Magdalene. She says, we've been so very pleased and honored to be with you today in this space, and we offer to you that it is never just about what we are explaining, but the vibrations we are offering through our love, light, and the transmission of the heart of this channel that are most important and received by you. And as you continue to integrate these energies, we are assisting always. Many blessings. Okay. All right. Any final last questions that I can answer? Okay, well, thank you for being here with me. Thank you for those of you who traveled, all of you who are out here. Yeah, thank you. I just want to say, these sessions, they're cultivated by you, and that's something that's so wonderful to watch. They're so different based on who's here and who they're being offered to. So you guys make this, and I appreciate that.